Get ready to rewind to the 90s. Step by Step was one of the most iconic family sitcoms of its time, a perfect blend of humor, heart, and a modern take on the blended family. Premiering in 1991, it followed the hilarious and heartwarming adventures of the Lambert Foster clan and quickly became a favorite in homes across America. But now, over 3 decades later, fans are asking, what happened to the cast in 2025? In this video, we're diving deep into the lives of the stars who brought this lovable TV family to life. Who stayed in the spotlight? Who stepped away from acting? And where are they now after all these years? Join us as we take a nostalgic journey through Hollywood history to catch up with the cast of Step by Step, then and now. Suzanne Summers was born on October 16, 1946, and played Carol Foster Lambert in Step by Step, starting in 1991 at the age of 45. Carol, the quintessential TV stepmom, was nurturing, organized, and endlessly patient, becoming a maternal icon for viewers navigating their own blended family struggles. But behind the image of America's favorite mom, Suzanne's life was a mosaic of trauma, reinvention, and controversy. Raised in a volatile household with an alcoholic, abusive father, she spent her childhood hiding bruises and developing the survival instincts that later powered her relentless career. A teenage mother by 18, she later married host Alan Hamel, whose controlling influence was quietly whispered about in industry circles. Her early fame peaked with Three's Company, but when she demanded equal pay with co-star John Ritter, producers retaliated with her abrupt firing and years of blacklisting. Her public narrative painted her as a feminist pioneer, but insiders claim her ego and obsession with branding made her nearly impossible to work with. Reinventing herself as a wellness entrepreneur, she promoted bioidentical hormones and rejected chemotherapy, decisions that drew ire from the medical community and even her own family, who privately pleaded for conventional treatment. Her later years were marked by bizarre TV appearances, questionable health advice, and persistent rumors of marital open arrangements. Summers died on October 15, 2023, just 1 day before her 77th birthday, after breast cancer metastasized to her brain. At the time of her death, she left behind a vast empire, an estimated $100 million in net worth, bolstered by the Thigh Master fortune, real estate in Malibu, Palm Springs, and Las Vegas, as well as book royalties and supplement revenue. Yet behind the glitz, her legacy remains polarizing. Hailed by some as a trailblazer, criticized by others as a symbol of misinformed celebrity health culture. David Graff was born on April 16, 1950, and joined Step by Step in 1993 at the age of 43, making guest appearances as Dave Roberts and Mitch Crawford. In those brief roles, he brought a frenzied, comedic energy that disrupted the show's typical family rhythm, mirroring the manic charm he became famous for as Sergeant Tackleberry in the Police Academy films. But while audiences laughed, Graff was quietly trapped in his own caricature. A classically trained actor who once dreamed of Shakespearean theater, he was heartbroken by how Hollywood typecast him into gun-obsessed lunatics. His biggest professional humiliation came when he was denied a dramatic lead in a CBS pilot, reportedly losing the role after an executive said, "We can't take Tackleberry seriously." He was also deeply involved in union politics with the Screen Actors Guild, where he alienated peers by calling out nepotism and financial mismanagement, leading to a semi-blacklisting from major studios in the late 90s. Privately, David wrestled with insecurity and depression, worsened by familial tensions after converting to Methodism and clashing with his conservative relatives. He was married to actress Kathy Graff, but insiders said their relationship was strained by financial stress and his persistent health issues, including high blood pressure and anxiety. His tragic death came on April 7, 2001, just days before his 51st birthday, when he suffered a massive heart attack at a family wedding. At the time, he was planning a comeback in a dramatic indie film and had recently signed on to teach acting. His estate was estimated at $500,000, including a modest home in California, residuals from Police Academy, and retirement savings. Though remembered for laughs, David Graff died with unfinished dreams, his legacy clouded by what could have been had Hollywood seen past the laugh track. Peggy Rya was born on March 31, 1921, and portrayed Ivy Baker, the outspoken and comedic mother of Carol, in Step by Step's first season in 1991, when she was 70 years old. Ivy was the classic meddling but well-meaning grandma figure, injecting intergenerational charm and sarcasm into the family dynamic. To viewers, she was the embodiment of comfort, warm, wise, and hilarious. But Peggy's own life was far from the sitcom ideal. Born in Los Angeles during the Great Depression, she grew up in financial instability and left UCLA early to support her family. Starting as a secretary for MGM, she clawed her way into acting, often cast as brash, heavy-set women due to Hollywood's cruel typecasting. She quietly resented the industry's obsession with thinness and youth, telling friends she was paid to be loud, fat, and funny, while more nuanced roles slipped through her fingers. Though she maintained a clean public image, rumors of her being difficult on set followed her, stemming from her refusal to accept roles she deemed degrading. Never married and fiercely private, Peggy was dogged by whispers of a long-term lesbian relationship with a married female producer, something she neither confirmed nor denied. She struggled with loneliness in her later years, reportedly battling alcohol dependency behind closed doors and rejecting therapy out of pride. After suffering congestive heart failure, she passed away on February 5, 2011, at the age of 89, in Toluca Lake, California. Her estate was modest, reportedly under $500,000, consisting of a small home, antique furniture collections, and residuals from the Waltons and the Dukes of Hazzard. Though adored on screen, she died largely alone, a relic of television's golden age whose complexity was long buried beneath her sitcom smiles. Mickey Jones was born on June 10, 1941, and played Virgil in Step by Step in 1993 at age 52. Virgil was the wild, bearded biker uncle who unexpectedly brought heart and wisdom to the Lambert Foster clan. His unpredictable visits made for some of the show's funniest and most tender moments, but Mickey's life was a far cry from the sitcom charm he projected. Raised in poverty by a single mother in Houston, he often went to bed hungry and wore hand-me-downs that made him the target of cruel bullying. Music became his escape, eventually landing him the drum seat for Bob Dylan's Notorious Electric Tour. But behind the scenes, Jones was a hothead. He was reportedly fired from Kenny Rogers' band after a backstage fistfight over unpaid wages. His transition into acting was driven not by passion, but necessity. He needed money after 2 failed business ventures and a brief stint in jail for unpaid taxes. He was notoriously difficult to work with on set. A producer on a short-lived 90s drama claimed Jones once refused to come out of his trailer unless his character got more lines and a love interest. His biggest career disaster came in 1998 when he lost out on a major recurring role in a hit crime series due to allegations of physical intimidation on set. Though never publicly confirmed, the whispers followed him for years. Mickey married actress Phyllis Jean Starr, but the marriage was strained by his absences, and the couple quietly separated. His son reportedly battled addiction and blamed Mickey's emotional distance for his struggles, a claim Mickey never addressed. In his later years, Jones suffered from worsening diabetes and financial decline, exacerbated by poor investments and legal fees. He passed away on February 7, 2018, at the age of 76 from complications related to diabetes, dying in a modest home in Simi Valley, California. His estate was valued at approximately $1 million, consisting mainly of a small home, aging music equipment, and residual checks that had long since stopped coming regularly. Despite the rugged charm fans remember, Mickey's life was marked by volatility, strained relationships, and a lingering sense of what could have been. Patrick Duffy was born on March 17, 1949, and played Frank Lambert in Step by Step in 1991 at age 42. Frank was the blue-collar patriarch with a tool belt and a soft heart, bringing calm to a chaotic blended household. Fans adored his no-nonsense advice and quiet strength. But behind that warmth was a man shaped by unimaginable loss. Duffy was raised in rural Montana, the son of bar owners whose lives were marked by alcohol and violence. His parents were tragically murdered in a robbery in 1986, an event that shattered him and sent him into a spiritual crisis that ultimately led to his conversion to Buddhism. Despite his success as Bobby Ewing in Dallas, Duffy often felt like a fraud. He confessed in interviews to struggling with imposter syndrome, even at the height of his fame. Though loved by fans, he was not always beloved on set. Several former co-stars anonymously described him as emotionally distant and hyper-controlling about scripts. His most painful career failure came in 1998 when his directorial debut, an indie film he poured his savings into, was panned by critics and never saw wide release. His marriage to ballerina Carlin Rosser was tested by long absences, suspected infidelities, and the pressures of Hollywood. They remained together until her death in 2017, though insiders say the final years were strained by medical expenses and unspoken grief. Their two sons had a complicated relationship with their father, one of whom moved to Europe to escape the Duffy shadow. Duffy found renewed peace in later years with actress Linda Pearl, though friends say he still carries immense survivor's guilt. As of 2025, at age 76, he lives in Los Angeles, but spends months at a time off-grid in Oregon, practicing meditation and avoiding media. His assets include multiple properties, significant royalties from Dallas and Step by Step, and investments in TV production, bringing his estimated net worth to $30 million. While his image remains clean, the hidden pain behind his success continues to shape his legacy. Stacy Keenan, born June 6, 1975, played Dana Foster in Step by Step in 1991 at age 16. Dana was the unapologetically intelligent, fiercely feminist stepdaughter who often clashed with her laid-back stepbrother, JT. Behind the sharp wit and sarcasm that made Dana a fan favorite lay a much more turbulent real-life narrative. Born Anastasia Sigorsky, Stacy grew up in a working-class Pennsylvania household, raised primarily by her mother after her parents' acrimonious divorce. Her early years were marked by instability, and she has quietly acknowledged episodes of verbal abuse and emotional neglect that led her to bury herself in academics and acting as an escape. While her early success as a child star in My Two Dads gave her a promising start, the transition to Step by Step was not without drama. Several insiders reported that Stacy struggled with eating disorders during the show's early seasons and was notoriously cold on set, often locking herself in her dressing room and refusing to interact unless necessary. She allegedly refused to participate in multiple cast reunions due to unresolved tensions, particularly with Brandon Call and Christine Lakin. One of her career's most significant downfalls was a failed legal drama pilot in 1999, which collapsed mid-production due to creative conflicts. A veiled reference, according to reports, to Keenan's resistance to network control. In her personal life, she dated several co-stars and once had a controversial relationship with a much older producer, which ended in a quiet legal dispute over breached confidentiality. After stepping away from acting, she rebranded herself as Anastasia Sigorsky, earned a law degree, and now practices in Los Angeles. She married actor Guy Birtwistle, but keeps a fiercely guarded private life. Now 50, she lives in a comfortable home in West Hollywood, teaches law part-time, and owns modest investment assets. Her net worth is estimated at $1.5 million, small by Hollywood standards, but a symbol of her self-made reinvention. Still, her legacy as one of the more enigmatic stars of 90s TV remains clouded by what could have been had she stayed in the limelight. Tony Longo was born on August 19, 1961, and appeared as Soupy Tony in Step by Step in 1995 at age 34. His character was the classic gentle giant, a towering man with a lovable innocence that contrasted hilariously with his intimidating size. Audiences loved the contrast, but Tony's personal life told a much darker tale. Raised in a working-class neighborhood in Brooklyn, Longo endured years of emotional abuse from his father, a former boxer who demanded physical toughness and punished any sign of sensitivity. This childhood trauma left Longo with chronic self-esteem issues, masked by humor and physical presence. Though his career seemed stable with roles in Angels in the outfield and First and 10, he struggled to land leading parts. Casting agents saw him as a one-note performer, and he grew bitter about being typecast. In 2002, Longo was infamously let go from a major sitcom after showing up intoxicated to the table read, something he never publicly addressed. Despite his image, he battled food addiction and hypertension, and reportedly checked into weight loss clinics multiple times under assumed names to avoid press attention. His biggest heartbreak came in 2010 when a self-financed pilot he'd written and starred in, a heartfelt dramedy about being a big man in a small world, was rejected by every major network, sending him into a deep depression. Though he kept a relatively clean public image, insiders described him as haunted, angry, and chronically underappreciated. He was briefly married to an actress 10 years his junior, but the relationship ended after 2 years amid rumors of emotional volatility and isolation. In his final years, Longo painted obsessively and stopped auditioning altogether, living off residuals and rare convention appearances. He died on June 21, 2015, at age 53, from congestive heart failure and kidney complications in Marina del Rey. At the time of his death, his estate, primarily his condo, artwork, and modest savings, was estimated to be worth around $1 million. A tragic figure, Longo's life was defined not just by physical largeness, but by the emotional weight he carried in silence. Brandon Call, born November 17, 1976, played J.T. Lambert in Step by Step in 1991 at age 15. J.T. was the stereotypical dumb jock, fun-loving, cocky, and often the butt of Dana's intellectual jabs. Off-screen, Brandon's reality was far grimmer. Raised in Torrance, California, Brandon's father was an aspiring talent manager who reportedly used emotional manipulation to force his son into acting from the age of 5. Described by crew as moody and unpredictable, Call frequently clashed with directors and fellow castmates, especially during the later seasons of the show. He was reportedly close to being fired after several unexcused absences during season 6, allegedly due to his spiraling marijuana and alcohol use. The turning point in his life came on a fateful September night in 1996, when he was shot multiple times in a road rage altercation. Though he physically recovered, friends say the trauma shattered his mental health. Brandon became paranoid, withdrawn, and refused therapy. He vanished from Hollywood shortly after, despite landing auditions for major roles in Buffy the Vampire Slayer and The Fast and the Furious, both of which he either flubbed or walked out on. In 2004, he was involved in a domestic dispute with a longtime girlfriend, which led to a quiet court settlement and further tarnished his reputation. Family ties fractured too. His relationship with his younger sister turned estranged after legal battles over shared inheritance. Brandon eventually moved into real estate, operating under the radar, often using aliases to avoid unwanted press. As of 2025, he lives in a gated community in San Diego, owns 2 mid-tier properties, drives a modest truck, and avoids media altogether. His net worth hovers around $800,000, with most income stemming from step-by-step royalties and property investments. Now 48, he's a ghost of the charismatic teen heartthrob he once was, choosing obscurity over redemption. Christine Lakin was born on January 25, 1979, and played Alicia Al Lambert in 1991 at age 12. Al, the sarcastic tomboy daughter of Frank Lambert, won over audiences for her sharp comebacks and layered vulnerability beneath a tough exterior. Viewers watched her grow from a rebellious preteen to a confident, independent young woman, a transformation that mirrored Christine's struggle behind the scenes. Born into a family plagued by financial instability and emotional distance, Lakin's childhood was marked by anxiety and overachievement, a coping mechanism in response to an alcoholic father and a mother obsessed with keeping up appearances. Though she became a teen icon, her post-step-by-step career spiraled into obscurity, with multiple failed pilots, typecasting, and a humiliating rejection from Scream 2 that she later admitted broke her spirit. Her lowest point came in 2008 when she co-starred in The Hottie and the Naughty, a critically savaged film that left her creatively blacklisted. On set, rumors swirled about Lakin's controlling demeanor, allegedly clashing with male co-stars and rewriting her own lines without approval. Some directors refused to work with her twice, citing her perfectionism as unbearable. In her personal life, Lakin cycled through high-profile relationships with musicians and actors, including a secretive on-and-off romance with a married co-star that ended in tabloid fodder and NDA settlements. Her marriage to Brandon Brohl, though publicly stable, is rumored to be more of a business arrangement tied to joint production ventures. After suffering a late miscarriage in 2015 and enduring postpartum depression following her daughter's birth, Lakin retreated from acting and focused on directing. Now 46, she lives in a 3-bedroom Los Angeles home, drives a leased Audi Q5, and manages modest investments in podcasting, audiobook narration, and female-led indie projects. With an estimated net worth of $2 to $3 million, Lakin remains quietly embedded in the industry, though far from the spotlight she once basked in. Angela Watson, born November 12, 1975, played Karen Foster in Step by Step in 1991 at age 16. Karen was the image-obsessed, bubbly stepdaughter who longed for fame and beauty recognition. The irony is painful. While Karen dreamed of stardom, Angela's real life was a nightmare of exploitation behind the scenes. Raised in rural Illinois, her family struggled financially, and her rise in Hollywood was aggressively managed by her parents, especially her mother, who saw Angela as the family's golden ticket. What followed was years of financial abuse. By the time Step by Step ended in 1998, Angela discovered that nearly every penny she earned, estimated to be over $2 million, was gone. Her parents and then manager had siphoned her income into failed real estate projects and luxury goods. She attempted to sue but was coerced into dropping the case due to intimidation and a lack of legal backing. Her career fizzled almost overnight. A failed country album in 2001, which she self-funded through loans, pushed her into bankruptcy. Emotionally shattered, she lived in isolation for nearly a decade, battling depression, anxiety, and self-harm. Rumors of attempted suicide in 2006 were never confirmed, but widely whispered within the industry. Romantically, she was entangled with a much older casting agent during her teen years, a relationship later described as coercive. She finally escaped the shadows in the late 2010s, launching Cast, a nonprofit organization dedicated to protecting child actors from exploitation. Married to a Florida-based tech executive, she now lives in a waterfront home in Sarasota and speaks openly about her trauma and recovery. At 49, she's not only regained emotional stability, but has rebuilt her fortune through advocacy, public speaking, and investment. Her net worth is estimated at $10 million, most of it earned after leaving Hollywood. Angela's journey is one of the most dramatic reversals in 90s television history, from child star victim to legal reform champion. Christopher Castile was born on June 15, 1980, and portrayed Mark Foster in 1991 at age 11. As the bookish, logical youngest son of Carol Foster, Mark provided deadpan comic relief and emotional balance within the chaotic Step family. Audiences loved his dry humor and brainy charm, but off-camera, Castile's life was anything but calculated. Raised in a highly conservative Christian household, he was subjected to intense scrutiny and discipline, reportedly forbidden from watching TV, listening to secular music, or participating in school dances. His acting success was seen as both a blessing and a curse in his family. Fame brought financial relief but also moral panic. Castile's career never reached beyond the sitcom bubble. After Step by Step and the Beethoven movies, he failed to secure substantial roles. Sources close to the industry cited his refusal to audition for immoral roles and clashes with producers over script content. His biggest career failure was walking away from a potential Disney Channel spinoff, an opportunity that could have revived his career due to religious objections over the show's LGBTQ+ representation. Behind closed doors, Castile struggled with identity and mental health. And although he has never publicly come out, several colleagues from the 2000s suggest he lived a double life for years, battling internalized shame and self-denial. Castile eventually left Hollywood and earned a master's in political science. He now teaches at Biola University and Downey High School, where he's admired for his intellect but known to be emotionally distant. Living quietly in a modest California home, he avoids press and refuses fan requests. Now 45, his assets include savings, educational grants, and limited residuals from his acting years. His net worth is approximately $1 million, but his true value lies in a life reclaimed on his own terms, albeit one shadowed by what could have been. Sasha Mitchell was born on July 27, 1967, and played Cody Lambert in Step by Step in 1991 at the age of 24. Cody, the goofy, kind-hearted, philosophical nephew, was instantly beloved for his offbeat humor, laid-back surfer vibe, and surprising insights. He became a breakout character on the show, often stealing scenes with his earnest charm. But behind the laughter was a troubled man with a stormy past. Mitchell came from a dysfunctional family in Los Angeles, with deep ties to organized crime through his father and a turbulent home life marked by neglect and emotional abuse. Raised amid instability, he sought discipline in martial arts and acting, but his demons followed him. In the late 90s, at the height of his TV success, he was charged with domestic violence against his wife. The media firestorm that followed led to his arrest, brief jail time, and being written off step by step, a crushing blow he never fully recovered from. Mitchell claimed he was protecting his children from a drug-addicted partner and eventually won custody, but public opinion never completely shifted in his favor. Behind closed doors, friends described a volatile man struggling to reconcile his gentle TV persona with private anger and control issues. His acting career cooled significantly afterward, reduced to low-budget martial arts films and small TV guest roles. His most notable failure came when a much-hyped film project in the early 2000s collapsed after producers cited creative differences and on-set conflicts, rumors hinting at Mitchell's erratic behavior. Personally, he cycled through unstable relationships, battled legal battles over custody and finances, and has remained largely out of the public eye. He currently resides in California in a modest home, teaching martial arts and giving the occasional nostalgic interview. At 57, he's estimated to have a net worth of around $600,000, with assets including a home, royalties from past projects, and a small business. Though still in good shape and trying to live quietly, Mitchell remains a figure overshadowed by scandal, a cautionary tale of fame's fragility. Josh Byrne was born on February 15, 1984, and took on the role of Brendan Lambert in 1991 at age 7. Brendan was the quiet, almost ethereal youngest child in the Lambert clan, often used sparingly in scenes, yet adored by fans for his innocence and sweetness. But behind that angelic exterior was a child actor battling emotional abandonment and parental exploitation. Born into a family where his earnings were prioritized over his well-being, Byrne reportedly had no say in auditioning for Step by Step and was kept isolated from the other cast members. On set, his withdrawn behavior was often mistaken for shyness, but insiders later revealed he was suffering from undiagnosed childhood depression and selective mutism. Inexplicably written off before the final season without explanation, his disappearance became an urban legend among fans. Rumors of a backstage altercation between his stage mother and producers fueled speculation, as did whispers of abuse at home. After exiting the series, Byrne faded completely from the public eye. Multiple attempts to reach him for reunions or interviews failed. Industry insiders claim he legally changed his name, and some suggest he briefly joined a cult-like wellness commune in Northern California. The most persistent rumor alleges a breakdown in his late teens that led to years in psychiatric care under an assumed identity. Financially, Byrne fared unusually well, thanks to a court-mandated trust fund established after an early lawsuit against his parents for misappropriation of earnings. He now lives a reclusive life in a gated Los Angeles property, protected by non-disclosure clauses and private security. His estimated net worth is around $5 million, accumulated through residuals, savvy real estate investments, and complete severance from the Hollywood machine. At 41, Josh Byrne remains one of child stardom's most haunting disappearances, a ghost of sitcom past who chose self-erasure over survival in the spotlight. Jason Marsden was born on January 3, 1975, and portrayed Rich Halk in Step by Step beginning in 1993 at age 18. Rich, the fast-talking, slick-haired best friend to JT, was a fan-favorite character known for his troublemaking antics and lovable smirk. Marsden brought youthful charm and energy to the role, but unlike his character, he faced constant rejection in live-action roles due to his boyish appearance and distinctive voice. Raised in a modest home by a single mother, Marsden was drawn to performance as a way to escape bullying and poverty. While he built a strong voice-acting career with standout roles like Max Goof in A Goofy Movie and Haku in Spirited Away, he faced frustrations behind the scenes. Several sources reported his intense perfectionism and clashes with directors, especially on animated productions, where he allegedly demanded more creative input than most voice actors are granted. His career was further hindered when he was replaced last minute in several high-profile projects without explanation, leading to bouts of depression and self-isolation. Marsden tried to reinvent himself in the indie scene, directing small projects and launching the Mars variety show on YouTube. But the show struggled with viewership and funding. Personally, he's never married and has no children, a choice he said comes from deep trust issues and a fear of disappointment. Former friends have hinted at estrangements due to his obsessive work habits and emotional distance. Rumors of past substance abuse remain unconfirmed, but linger. He now lives quietly in Nashville, Tennessee, where he works as a voice artist and creative consultant. His net worth is estimated between $700,000 and $1 million, with a modest home, voiceover contracts, and directing fees as primary income sources. At 50, Marsden remains a respected but under-the-radar talent, often overlooked despite a body of work that shaped a generation's childhoods. His voice familiar to millions, even if his face is not. Bronson Pincho was born on May 20, 1959, and joined Step by Step in 1997 at age 38, playing Jean-Luc Riaperoux, the flamboyant French hairdresser whose over-the-top antics and exaggerated accent injected new energy into the show's later years. While Jean-Luc was divisive among fans, Pincho's comedic timing was undeniable. Yet his off-screen life painted a far darker picture. Born into a poor, abusive family in New York, Pincho's early years were filled with emotional neglect and insecurity. He escaped into books and theater, but carried deep wounds into adulthood. Despite becoming a household name with perfect strangers, Pincho developed a reputation for being erratic, demanding, and difficult to work with. Cast and crew frequently complained about his controlling tendencies and on-set meltdowns, and he was quietly dropped from several TV pilots due to his toxic energy, according to a former producer. His most devastating career blow came in the mid-2000s when a proposed Broadway comeback fell apart over creative disputes. Pincho allegedly demanded rewrites that alienated the entire production team. Personally, his life has been riddled with solitude and strange behavior. He has never married and is rumored to have been involved in several secretive, codependent relationships that ended abruptly. In 2015, his financial house of cards collapsed. After spending millions restoring historic homes in Pennsylvania, he filed for bankruptcy, citing over $500,000 in debt. At the time, he had only a few $100s in his bank account. He now lives modestly in 2 tiny homes and survives on audiobook narration gigs and residuals. His estimated net worth is around $3 million, largely rebuilt through steady voice work and frugal living. At 66, Bronson Pincho is a far cry from the scene-stealing star he once was. Eccentric, reclusive, and haunted by the choices that cost him a more lasting legacy. Thank you for joining us on this nostalgic journey through classic television history. If you enjoyed learning about the cast of Step by Step and where they are now, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe for more vintage Hollywood retrospectives, and share your thoughts in the comments below. We love hearing your memories and suggestions. So let us know which TV show or movie cast you'd like us to feature next.